Welcome to another episode of TaskHuman Talks. I am your host, Jamie Carroll, also a fellow TaskHuman provider. And today we have one of our really amazing wellness professionals, Kate Chartrand. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, awesome. And Kate is so amazing. She's a family life educator, a parenting coach, a mindfulness coach, life coach. She's got 5 kids, ages 8 to 18, and she is also a piano marble instructor. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks, Jamie. It's great to be on.
Yes, 5 kids, 8
Yeah.
to 18. Wow, how have you been doing?
Oh, that's a good question with everything going on. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it's been a rough 6 months. I'm sure most
Wow.
people can agree. But yeah, having the kids at home and my husband at home, as much as I
Right.
love all of them, it has been really a real challenge.
Absolutely. And some people might even say you have 6 kids with your husband being at home
That's
too.
true. No, he's actually really helpful, but
Oh, good. Yeah.
it's good to have some space. So it's been
Right.
good. Last week, my 4 younger kids went back to school, and so
Uh-huh.
that has actually really helped a lot.
Yeah. And this is such a great, I'm glad you're here today because there's a lot of things that parents are probably navigating right now with their children being at home. And one of the things you teach on or coach on, I should say, is positive discipline.
Yeah.
Tell us more about what that is.
So actually, it started with an article that I read, just randomly came across on motherjones.com, and it was called, "What If Everything You Knew About Disciplining Was Wrong?" And it really caught my eye. I read through it and I had a total paradigm shift because what we had been doing for many, many years as parents was the traditional method of, if the kids misbehave, then you punish them. If they do something really well, then you reward them. But this was completely different because it did not focus on punishments or rewards. And this was actually an article related to a school system that did this. And I was blown away. I was like, how in the world can they manage the kids this way? Because it totally was not my way of thinking about discipline. And then soon after that, I came across positive discipline, and it's a very similar mindset of not focusing on punishments or rewards, but focusing on teaching the child and figuring out the why behind misbehavior.
So, are you saying this school system was doing the positive discipline?
Well, it wasn't, positive discipline named, but there are
Okay.
several programs out there that have this similar mindset.
Okay. Awesome. So, I'm really, really curious about this. How does this work in practice?
Right. So what it really first requires is that paradigm shift, the perspective
Okay.
change of kids aren't misbehaving because they're trying to be bad. Um, there's a reason behind it. And most of the time it's because a need has not been fulfilled. So in positive discipline, we teach that kids have 2 basic needs of belonging and significance. And usually when you see misbehavior, it's because one of those 2 needs are not being met. So instead of focusing on the misbehavior, you focus on, okay, how can I help my child feel belonging and significance? And that usually, prevents future misbehavior.
Wow. And so you're actually asking your child this, like
Well,
having a conversation around it, or are you just as the parent trying to get into that mindset shift?
yeah, as a parent, you're getting into that mindset. And a lot of times the kids aren't even aware of why you're misbehaving, like it's this
Okay.
unconscious process that's going on. But you can look at clues of how they're misbehaving, how you feel as a parent. And there's actually a whole chart. It's kind of complicated to talk about right now, but there's a whole
Right.
chart of like 4 main reasons kids misbehave and different clues to help you to figure out which reason it might be.
Okay. Now, I know you said you wanted to do an example of this,
Yeah.
right? I'm not sure if that would fit in now. you sent me something and I didn't even read it. So let's try it out because I'm kind of curious as well to see this in action now that we're having this discussion. I'm thinking, I don't have kids, but I have nieces and a nephew. So I'm like immediately thinking about my sisters raising their kids. And I know my older sister kind of already puts this into practice, but I know other people out there are probably wanting a little bit more of an example. So should we try it?
Yeah, let's try it. Okay, so one of the most common issues that I talk to parents about is screens, because it's like such a big part of our lives, right? And our kids' lives. And so a lot of conflict comes with screens. So I wanted to use the example of, let's say your preschooler wants to watch a show, but they haven't, like maybe it's not the right time. They haven't finished putting away their backpack and shoes or whatever after preschool. And so then they start throwing a tantrum. Okay, so traditionally a parent might just dismiss this emotion and either ignore it or punish the child for it. So I'm going to pretend that you're the child and I'm the parent. You don't actually have to act anything out, but what I want you to do is just think about how you feel as the child as I'm talking to you with this interaction. And then we'll talk about it, okay? So the child's throwing a tantrum and I say, stop crying. If you don't stop crying, I'm not gonna let you watch any TV at all today. You just need to stop it. Okay, so that's just kind of, a common reaction that parents do, right? Yeah. How did you feel when I talked to you that way?
I felt a little bit more upset, I would say, or like angry, not like I'm not being heard.
Yeah. Misunderstood.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, misunderstood.
And so what do you think you might do after that if your mom talked to you like that?
Freak out even more.
Yeah, it'll probably make it worse, right?
Yeah.
Just keep escalating and escalating.
I'm actually imagining myself as a kid right now.
Oh, good. You're good at this mindfulness exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I would react, even
because that's
in a way that the parent wouldn't like.
Yeah, that's so natural. And what's happening is our fight, flight, freeze response kicks in, right? Like we're just both in that mode. We're just both reacting. So now let me demonstrate what I might say using the positive discipline method. And I also like to incorporate Dr. John Gottman's work with emotion coaching. So it's kind of a mix of the two.
Okay.
Okay, so we're pretending that you're the child and you're refusing to cooperate. You want to watch a show and you start throwing a tantrum. Honey, it looks like you're feeling pretty upset. I can tell by the way that you're sitting and you've got this frowny face. I can tell that you really want to watch that show, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, and yesterday, I know how you feel, because yesterday I wanted to watch my show and I couldn't because I just had too much work to do. It's a bummer when that happens. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to feel upset like this. We all do sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. But what's not okay is to throw a fit like this. So do you want to go calm down with me in your room until you feel better?
Can I watch a show after that?
We'll talk about it when you're calm. Okay, so how did that feel?
Better. I felt like I'm being heard.
And of course there would have been more interaction,
right.
I would have tried to comfort you, physical touch and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love this. And I think it's so important that we teach and model that behavior, that reacting behavior to our children, so they, because I'm imagining, like, I don't have kids, but I'm thinking about as adults even how we can react to certain things that aren't going our way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I know myself, like, yeah, exactly. If I'm overwhelmed or I'm in a state of stress, I can snap sometimes if I'm not careful and not aware and not learning, that basically kind of what how you were talking to the child, just in that calm voice. And
yeah, I mean, I tell things like that to myself all the time. You know,
right.
I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling upset,
Yeah.
and that alone can help you to calm down.
Yes. Yeah, because I've studied a little bit of nonviolent communication, and one of the things behind that is like we're all doing things to meet a need. We have a need. And it
Yeah,
sounds like this positive discipline is saying that it was belonging and significant for the kids, that they're not getting those needs met at that time.
exactly. Yeah,
Wow, this seems like such a powerful tool and technique to use.
it is. It's really amazing. I love it.
Yeah. And so you work with parents in this realm of how to kind of work and help their own children.
Yeah, and what I found, let me just bring in mindfulness, because often I would be like, man, I wish there was a pause button for parenting because I know what to do, I know what to say, but it just comes out wrong because I'm reacting. And so
Yeah.
what I found was, you know, when I discovered that mindfulness has actually been shown to change the brain, to help
Mhm.
you to manage emotions better, I was like, I'm in, you know. And so
Yeah.
um, I've noticed that when I started practicing mindfulness every day, then that was like the pause button. Like you could pause before reacting and think about what you're doing. So it's wonderful for parents. I teach this to parents in my parenting program, and for anybody who wants
Right.
to be able to manage their emotions better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this. So, someone who's wanting to start and begin to apply this either within their own lives as an adult or with their children, what is like one simple step that we could begin doing right away? The mindfulness, is there even another kind of step that
Yeah, I
we
would
can start with?
say, you know, basic mindfulness every day, but then also um, what I kind of demonstrated with labeling their emotions, because
Okay.
especially young kids, you know, they're learning new words all the time. We
Right.
can help them to develop a feelings vocabulary. So when we name that emotion, like, oh, you're feeling upset, you're feeling disappointed, you're feeling mad, then it not only reaffirms how they're feeling, but it helps them to learn those words and be able to use
Yeah.
them themselves.
Absolutely. And then as adults, we can even do that, label
Oh
our own
yeah,
emotions and how we're feeling. I love
definitely.
this. Now, one of the things you mentioned with children is screens. So being on screens a lot. And I'm finding that now, I don't know how it is where you are, but I'm in Tennessee and they're doing in-home schooling. And so
Yeah,
they're on a lot of screens. Like my niece is on Zoom all day long on
right.
screen. Um, what what's a way to kind of, or do you have any ways that we would shift, from being on a screen all day now, and then they're going to want to continue to be on the screen? Do you feel as though this is like maybe like allowing permission for that to happen more often? Or have you encountered any struggles with this with parents that you coach or work with, or even in your own life? I mean, you've got
Yeah,
young kids now that are probably, back at school.
definitely. Yeah, that was a struggle in my own home, trying to navigate through that because they do have to be on screens a lot for schoolwork. And
Right.
so what I've seen is that, and what I encourage other parents to do as well, is to balance that out with outside time. Excuse me. And not only that, but interaction time. So my son, one of my kids is a real big screens lover. And so
Uh-huh.
we have to make sure we not only set limits on screens, but also say, okay, um, if you're at home all day, you need to be outside for at least an hour. And it depends on the age of the child and how much
Right.
they can handle, what they can do out there. But I think it really helps to balance it with outside active time.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, Now, one of the pieces you talked about mindfulness. So I want to bring it to that. You are a heart math practitioner. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called an Ad Heart Facilitator, and it's through
Okay.
HeartMath. Have you
Can you
heard
tell
of
us more about
HeartMath?
that? I have heard of it.
Okay.
I have a coach connection here in Nashville, and they just became HeartMath certified, and I haven't really had a chance to dive into it with them. So, can you
Oh,
tell us more about
nice.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I discovered HeartMath from somebody that I was mentored under, and I found that in my mindfulness practice, I was focusing more on, strengthening the connections in the brain. But heart math is a mindfulness practice where they strengthen the connections to the heart. And so what I found that, with emotion management, feeling peace in your life, you really have to have not only the connections in the brain, but the heart as well. They have to be able to communicate to each other. Okay. And so I learned just these basic heart math tools to kind of have more of that connection. And also what I really love about it is that it helps us to focus on that inner voice of wisdom that each of us has. Some people call it intuition, or if you're religious, the still small voice. And so what I found was, that's really something parents need to learn, because, I could tell them all sorts of strategies, tools, possible solutions, but in the end, they have the inner wisdom to know what's best for their child, because everybody's so individual. Every situation is different, and so they need to be able to access that.
Amazing. So you're listening more with your heart and paying attention more with your heart, as opposed to the ego mind that can sometimes get a little
Exactly.
flurry.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes our mind can go, crazy. So it definitely stills that.
Okay. Awesome. Now, when you're helping parents who have children and you're coaching them, is there a difference that they have, or the way you teach them to be with their children, if it's like a preschooler compared to a teenager? Is there any sort of age, way that you coach, or is it all basically the same tools and techniques that you're using?
Oh, that's a good question. The basic principles are all the same, but I do have different programs. Like I have a program for parents of preschoolers, a general positive discipline program, but then there's also a really good one for parents of teens. So there are little differences, and I love being able to tailor it to those different ages, because they have, their brain development's different, their needs might be a little bit different. Teens have greater needs for certain things like novelty, independence, but the basic principles are the same. Basically, it's just, you're trying to encourage your teen to become more independent and to have more power in their lives.
Okay. So become more independent and have more power.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I love that. I kind of want to bring it back to the schools too. So a lot of parents right now are choosing to homeschool their children, right? Or just, like I said before, kids are at home on their Zoom calls and things like that, sort of depending on where you are. If a parent is really trying to incorporate positive discipline at home with the children and teaching them that, do you find that, or have ever had an issue with the school system, like kind of doing the opposite? Of like, okay, this child is misbehaving, they're punished, they are in detention now, or, without asking about feelings and trying to label that. Has that ever come up?
Well, I really like that question. It really has been a concern of mine in the past.
Yeah.
Parents I coach, I don't recall any of them specifically having problems with this, but really what it comes down to is, yes, we can, talk to the teacher if we feel like they weren't disciplined in a healthy way, things like that. But if that doesn't work out, it's not really our role to change the school system, to change the way they discipline. And so we either have to, move them to a different school, or just teach our kids that, some people discipline differently, and this is what you can learn from it. And it's kind of similar to the advice I give to parents, like if they have grandparents who might be helping to take care of their kids during the day, and they don't agree with what the grandparents do, in the end, the kids are so smart, they can adapt to the different discipline systems, and it's not going to hurt them long term if they're disciplined differently, in one setting than another. But as the parent, you really do have the greatest influence on the child.
Okay, absolutely. That's beautiful. And one of the other things you do is piano, teaching piano. How do you use this in your coaching, and why do you think this tool is so important for kids?
Oh, I love talking about the power of music. It's incredible. I mean, the brain studies that they've done where they show that, when you're playing an instrument, learning an instrument, you're working all the major parts of the brain. It's the best brain workout that you could get. Not only for your cognitive development, people, it's related to better academic achievement and things like that, but also, as an emotional wellness tool. It's so soothing. I'm sure, if you just listen to music that you love, it boosts your spirits, right? And
Absolutely.
So just think about when you're playing an instrument, it becomes a part of you. And so it really, really helps with emotional wellness.
Awesome. So are you teaching kids how to play the piano?
Well, I am focusing on my family life coaching right now. So I only have a few students. One of them actually is my mom. She is, she's in her 60s and she is amazing. She, is a beginner still, but she's been practicing so much using the Piano Marble app that she's been averaging over 1,000 minutes a month.
Wow.
Especially because of the pandemic, because she's stuck at home, she's not going places, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see her progress.
Okay, so this is an app that anyone can download.
Yeah, it's a really great app. You should try it. It's for all ages, it's for young kids. One of my kids started when she was 3, I think, and she loved it. It's just really a great way to teach people how to practice correctly, because they can chunk it up, just practice little sections at a time. It shows you what notes you played right and which ones that you need to fix. It's like every piano teacher's dream tool,
Oh my gosh, I love this. So I guess we would need pianos though if we don't have.
That's true. You might need a piano. You can just get a keyboard
or something. Yeah.
But it's really great. And they have all sorts of music on there, like pop music, classical, any
that's so
genre.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said it can help with our learning and our studying. I'm actually studying for a really big test right now. So I'm like, I need to go and get a keyboard to download that app immediately.
Yeah, I know. It can help with learning and memory. And even it's shown to help older adults, with dementia, there's a relation to reduce dementia and things like that. So it's a really great tool for all ages.
Absolutely. And now you also work with families, is that correct? So how is your work, are you working with everyone in the family, or is it just mostly the parents?
Mostly the parents. Last year I was working in the schools. I was volunteering as the family engagement liaison and helping the counselor with kids in small groups. We were teaching them social emotional skills. So yeah, I haven't done the whole family. I feel like it's good to kind of treat them separately, and then the parents can work with the kids at home.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a difference where it was like a whole family versus you working, with the parents one-on-one.
Right.
So it sounds like it's more
mostly
so the parents.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. I love that. And you've got a lot of really amazing programs out, correct? Do you want to tell us more about those?
Yeah, so I mentioned the positive discipline parenting programs, and actually what I'm doing is incorporating the emotion coaching into those programs, or you can take that as a separate course, and that's based on Dr. John Gottman's work. Also, I have a relationship program, so couples who want to strengthen their relationships, they can learn research-based tools and strategies that can help them. I have the mindfulness program, so it's a 21-day mindfulness program just to help you to understand what mindfulness is, the different aspects, and develop a habit in your own life. That's why it's a 21-day.
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
mindfulness. And then, I also have where they can just call me, on TaskHuman, and I
Yeah.
can coach them on time management, emotion management, stress management, any family life issues.
Okay,
So those are
awesome.
my main topics that I teach.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you coach around mindfulness because I think, for us as coaches, it can be easy to say like, oh, just, practice some mindfulness, but people don't really know what that is and how to begin that. So
Mm-hmm.
that program sounds like it could be really, really helpful. So, okay, also working with couples who want to strengthen their relationship. What is one tip that you could give to a couple that is wanting to strengthen their relationship? Is there anything that comes to
Good
mind?
question. Yeah, I would say first and foremost is to carve out time together. Um, Not only once a week, like, trying to schedule a date night every week, but also every day. And it doesn't have to be this huge event, right? But sitting at the dinner table together and
Right.
having a conversation about what happened in the day, or, when you go to bed, talking for a few minutes, just that emotional connection. Even though it seems like a small thing, it really does help strengthen relationships.
That's great. That is a really amazing tip. And before we jump off, I also want to know, you've given us some here. So any 1 to 3 parenting strategies or tips you can leave everyone with that they can run with right away?
Yeah, with COVID going on, I really want to emphasize that self-care is so important.
Ooh,
It's
yes.
easy when we're talking about parenting to just dive into, okay, this is what you need to do with your child. But
Yeah.
really, if your own needs aren't met, then it's so hard to be able to meet your kids' needs. And
Right.
so I really just want to encourage parents to do that. You might have to get creative because everybody's home,
Right.
but jump in the shower and just have some time to yourself, or go on a walk around the block, whatever it takes to be able to get that
Yeah.
time to yourself to rejuvenate.
And what do you do for your own self-care? You've got 5 kids running around now at home. What are ways that you incorporate that into your life?
Oh yeah, that was tricky when all the kids were at home.
Yeah.
Um, Often I would go on a walk. I
Okay.
would just walk around the neighborhood. Just, maybe I would call my friend while I was walking. But just to have that quiet and that time to myself was huge. Other times I would just, sit down at the piano, play a song just to kind of soothe myself. And one thing that I've been doing for a long time is I have a weekly phone call with my friend who lives in Utah. And that's a huge part of my self-care because I look forward to that. We basically coach each other on what's
That's
going on in our
great.
lives. And yeah, that really
Yeah.
helps with my self-care.
I love that. Awesome. So is there another parenting strategy that you wanna or tip that you wanna leave people with?
Yeah. Well, there were a couple I was thinking about. Um, but one, because there's so many different parts of positive discipline. Um, I want to emphasize the concept of kindness and firmness in parenting, because I feel like that is the key formula for successful parenting. A lot of times, especially these days, parents might be really nice to their kids, but they don't have the limits set that they need.
Mm,
Or it could be the opposite, where they're very firm with their kids, but the kids don't feel the connection to the parent.
yeah.
So it's important to include both kindness and firmness.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing today with us. This was great. I feel like I learned so much, and I don't even have kids. I learned so much that I can start using right away.
Oh, that's great. It was great to talk to you,
Yeah,
Jamie.
yeah, absolutely. So, just as a reminder to everyone, when you're feeling in an emotional space, labeling the emotion, right? Being able to label it, whether that's for your children or even for yourself. And making sure you're taking care of yourself. You've got lots of self care ideas. Walking, playing the piano now is a good one. You've got an app you can download maybe having a weekly phone call, doing anything that feels good for you in the form of self-care, and then mixing kindness with firmness as well for your children, carving out time together if you're in a relationship to strengthen that relationship. Those are some of the takeaways from this chat. So much goodness. Make sure you check Kate out on our app. You can go to taskhuman.com and just go ahead and search for her. You'll find her. And as you can tell, she'll be able to help you if you're a parent, if you're just in a relationship, or even if you're an adult, right? So many great things that you do. Thank you once again, Kate.
Thank you,
And
Jamie.
and I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, thanks.